The digital clock glowed 4:30 a.m. as Elena Matthews moved through her bedroom like a ghost. Each step was calculated, avoiding the creaky floorboard by the window and the loose carpet edge near the closet. Her hands shook as she stuffed clothes into an old duffel bag. Not her good suitcase. Nothing that would make noise against the doorframe. Jeans, sweaters, underwear, the basics. Nothing more. Her heart hammered so loud she was sure it would wake the whole house, but she couldn't stop now. Now as she was this close to freedom. The wagon keys felt slippery in her sweaty palm. She placed them on her nightstand the night before, right next to her phone, planning every detail of this moment. The small suitcase she'd packed yesterday sat by the front door, hidden behind the coat rack where Lisa wouldn't see it during her morning routine. Elena had thought of everything. She had to. Lives depended on it. Her life, and maybe Lisa's too, though the 7-year-old didn't understand the danger they were in. Elena crept down the hallway, her sock-covered feet silent on the hardwood floor. The house felt different in these early morning hours, like it was holding its breath. Past Lisa's room, she could hear the soft sound of sleeping. Good. The little girl was a light sleeper, always had been since her mother died. Any unusual noise could wake her, and then everything would fall apart. Elena needed to be gone before Lisa realized what was happening. It was better this way. Cleaner. Less painful for both of them. She reached the front door and grabbed the suitcase handle. Her purse hung on the hook nearby, packed with cash, credit cards, and the bus ticket she bought online. The plan was simple. Drive to the Greyhound station, leave her wagon in the parking garage, and disappear onto the first bus heading west. By the time anyone realized she was gone, she'd be 3 states away. Lisa would be upset, but she'd get over it. Kids were resilient. Someone would take care of her. The state, maybe, or that social worker who'd been so helpful 2 years ago when everything first fell apart. Elena's hand touched the doorknob, cold metal against her skin. This was it. One turn, and she'd be free from the mess Marcus had created. Free from the threatening phone calls and the black SUVs that had been cruising past the house for the past week. Free from the responsibility she'd never asked for and the promises she'd made to a dying woman. She could start over somewhere else, maybe change her name, find a job in some small town where nobody knew her story. The guilt would fade eventually. It had to. Mama Elena? Where are you going? The voice hit her like ice water. Elena's hand froze on the doorknob as she turned to see Lisa standing in the hallway, clutching her stuffed rabbit. The little girl's dark hair stuck up in all directions, and her eyes were puffy with sleep, but she was wide awake now. Those brown eyes, so much like her mother's, stared at Elena with confusion and growing fear. Lisa, sweetie, Elena's voice cracked. She let go of the doorknob and forced a smile. You should be sleeping. It's very early, but you have your suitcase. Lisa's grip tightened on the rabbit. And your purse. My mama had her suitcase when she went to the hospital. She never came back. Elena's heart shattered. She'd forgotten how smart Lisa was, how she noticed everything. The little girl had already lost so much. Her mother to a car accident, her father to prison. She'd been bounced between foster homes for months before Elena stepped in as a temporary guardian. Temporary. That was supposed to be the key word. But temporary had stretched into 2 years, and somewhere along the way, Lisa had started calling her mama Elena instead of just Elena. I'm not going to the hospital, baby, Elena said, taking a step back from the door. You're leaving me. Lisa's voice was barely a whisper, but the words cut through Elena like a knife. Just like Daddy left. Just like my mama left. Lisa, no, it's not like that. But Lisa was already crying, big tears rolling down her cheeks as she ran toward Elena. The stuffed rabbit fell to the floor as the little girl wrapped her arms around Elena's waist, holding on tight. Please don't let us be alone again. Lisa sobbed into Elena's pajama shirt. I promise I'll be good. I promise I won't ask for stories at bedtime, or leave my toys out, or eat too much cereal. Please, Mama Elena, please don't leave me alone again. Elena stood frozen, her hands hovering over Lisa's shaking shoulders. The word us echoed in her mind. Us. Not me. Lisa had said us. Who else was Lisa thinking about? And again, what did that mean? Had someone else tried to leave her before? The phone on the kitchen counter buzzed, the sound sharp in the quiet house. And it buzzed again and again. Elena's blood ran cold. Nobody called this early unless it was an emergency, or unless it was them. The people Marcus had gotten involved with. The people who'd been calling with threats and promises of what they'd do if they didn't get their money. Elena looked down at Lisa, still clinging to her, still crying. The little girl's whole body shook with fear, and Elena realized she wasn't just afraid of being alone. Lisa was terrified of being abandoned again, left behind by another person who was supposed to protect her. The weight of that realization settled on Elena's chest like a stone. The phone buzzed one more time, then fell silent. But Elena knew it wouldn't stay quiet for long. Whoever was calling would keep trying, keep threatening, keep circling closer. The black SUVs would keep driving by. The danger Marcus had brought into their lives wasn't going away just because she ran from it. Mama Elena? Lisa looked up with tear-stained cheeks. Are you going to stay? Elena stared into those brown eyes and felt something shift inside her. Maybe running away wasn't the answer. Maybe running together was. Elena gently led Lisa to the kitchen table, her mind racing as the phone finally stopped buzzing. The little girl's tears had slowed, but her grip on Elena's hand remained tight, as if she was afraid Elena might vanish the moment she let go. Outside, the sky was starting to lighten, painting the kitchen in soft gray tones. Elena knew they didn't have much time, but Lisa deserved to understand what was happening, even if it had to be the simple version. Lisa, sweetheart, sit here with me. Elena pulled out 2 chairs, positioning them close together. I need to tell you some things, okay? Important things. Lisa nodded, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. Are you going to tell me why those scary men keep calling? I hear the phone ring at night, sometimes. Elena's heart clenched. Of course Lisa had noticed. Kids always noticed more than adults gave them credit for. Yes, baby, I'm going to tell you about the scary men. But first, I want you to know something very important. Do you remember when you first came to live with me? When my mama went to heaven, Lisa said quietly, her voice carrying the matter-of-fact tone children used when discussing tragedy. You said you were her best friend, and you would take care of me until they found my daddy. That's right. Your mama and I were best friends since high school. We did everything together. Went to movies, shared secrets, helped each other through hard times. Elena's voice softened as she remembered her friend's laugh, her terrible cooking, the way she'd light up whenever she talked about Lisa. When she got sick, she made me promise to watch over you if something happened to her. Lisa's eyes filled with fresh tears. But she didn't get sick. She had a car accident. Elena cursed herself for the slip. Lisa was too smart, too observant. You're right, baby. The doctor said there was nothing anyone could do. It happened very fast, and she didn't suffer. That part was true, at least. Her friend had died instantly when a drunk driver ran a red light. But before that happened, your mama and I talked about what would happen to you if she couldn't take care of you anymore. She wanted me to live with Daddy, Lisa said, but her voice carried uncertainty. But Daddy was in the angry place. The angry place. That's what they told Lisa about prison. That her father was in a place where he had to learn to control his anger. It seemed kinder than explaining that David had been arrested for beating her mother so badly she'd ended up in a hospital, or that he'd been dealing drugs to pay for his gambling debts. Yes, your daddy was in the angry place, so you came to live with me instead, just until he got better. Lisa was quiet for a moment, processing. But he's not better, is he? That's why the scary men are calling. Elena was amazed by Lisa's intuition. Your daddy made some bad choices before he went to the angry place. He borrowed money from some very dangerous people, and he couldn't pay them back. Now, those people think I should pay them instead. But you didn't borrow their money. No, I didn't. But I'm taking care of you, and they think that means I'm responsible for your daddy's debts. Elena kept her voice calm, but inside she was burning with anger. Marcus had known about David's connections to these people. He'd known, and he'd gotten involved anyway, borrowing money for some get-rich-quick scheme that had fallen apart spectacularly. When everything went south, Marcus had disappeared, leaving Elena to deal with the consequences. "Where's Daddy now?" Lisa asked. Elena hesitated. She got on the call yesterday. David was being released early for good behavior. The irony wasn't lost on her. Good behavior in prison, while his daughter lived in fear of the criminals he'd left behind. "Your daddy is getting out of the angry place today. That's why I was scared this morning. I thought maybe we should go somewhere safe until everything gets sorted out." Lisa's grip on Elena's hand tightened. "But if we leave, how will Daddy find me? I want to see him, but I'm scared too. What if he's still angry?" The complexity of Lisa's feelings broke Elena's heart. Despite everything David had done, despite the fear he'd instilled in his own daughter, Lisa still loved him because he was her father. But she was also wise enough to be afraid. "Lisa, your daddy has a sickness that makes him angry and do bad things. Even if he seems better, that sickness might still be there. And right now, there are people looking for him who might hurt us while they're trying to find him. Like when Tommy Henderson's daddy came to school drunk and scared everyone." Elena remembered that incident. A man struggling with addiction who'd shown up at Lisa's school during custody battle. Something like that, yes. Sometimes adults make choices that put kids in danger, even when they don't mean to. Lisa was quiet, swinging her legs from the chair. Finally, she looked up at Elena with those wise brown eyes. "My mama told me once that you would always keep me safe. She said you were the bravest person she knew." "Your mama said that?" "Uh-huh. She said if anything ever happened to her, I should remember that you chose to love me. Not because you had to, but because you wanted to." Lisa's voice grew stronger. "She said that's what real families do. They choose each other." Elena felt tears burning behind her eyes. She'd never known her friend had said those things to Lisa. Your mama was a very smart woman. So, if the scary men are coming, and if Daddy might still be angry, then we should leave together, right? Like a real family. Before Elena could answer, they heard the sound that had been haunting her nightmares. A car engine idling outside their house. Through the kitchen window, she could see a black SUV parked across the street. It hadn't been there 5 minutes ago. Elena's blood turned to ice. "Lisa, go to your room and pack your favorite toys in your backpack. Right now." "Are they here?" Lisa's voice was calm, but Elena could see the fear in her eyes. "Just go pack, baby. We're leaving in 5 minutes." As Lisa ran to her room, Elena grabbed her phone and saw 3 new text messages from an unknown number. "We know where you are. David's debt is now your debt. You have 6 hours to find $50,000, or the little girl pays too." Elena's hands shook as she deleted the messages. 6 hours had just become 5 minutes. Maybe less. Elena's hands trembled as she fumbled with her wagon keys in the garage. The black SUV was still there, and she could make out 2 figures in the front seats. They weren't even trying to hide anymore. Behind her, Lisa clutched her backpack, which bulged with stuffed animals and the few precious items from her short life. Come on," Elena whispered, turning the key in the ignition. The engine cranked, but didn't catch. She tried again. Nothing but a grinding sound that seemed to echo through the garage like a death sentence. "Mama Elena?" Lisa's voice was small. "Why isn't the wagon starting?" Elena tried the key a 3rd time, pumping the gas pedal. The engine wheezed and died. "I don't know, baby. Sometimes wagons are just difficult." But deep down, she suspected this wasn't a coincidence. These people had been watching them for days. They'd had plenty of time to sabotage her wagon. Fighting back panic, Elena pulled out her phone and scrolled to her sister's number. Maya lived 8 hours away in Denver, but she was the only family Elena had left. The phone rang twice before a groggy voice answered. "Elena? It's not even 6 in the morning. What's wrong?" "Maya, I need help. Big help. I need you to come get us right now." "Us? Who's us?" Maya's voice sharpened. Elena, you're scaring me. Elena took a shaky breath, keeping her voice low so Lisa wouldn't hear the full extent of their danger. Remember Lisa, the little girl I've been taking care of? Her father got mixed up with some bad people, and now they're after us for money we don't have. They're outside our house right now. Jesus, Elena. How much money? $50,000. The silence on the other end stretched, so long Elena thought the call had dropped. Finally, Maya spoke. Okay, I'm getting dressed right now. I'll be there as fast as I can, but Elena, 8 hours is 8 hours. Can you hide somewhere until then? Elena looked at Lisa, who was pressed against the garage wall, trying to make herself invisible. I think so. Maybe. What about the police? What am I going to tell them? That my ex-boyfriend borrowed money from criminals, and now they wanted to pay it back? I don't even know who these people are or where they live. I just know they have guns, and they're not afraid to use them. Elena, listen to me. Take Lisa and get out of that house right now. Find somewhere public to wait. A restaurant, a library when it opens, anywhere with people around. These guys won't try anything in public. Elena nodded, even though Maya couldn't see her. Okay, we'll figure something out. Just please drive fast. After hanging up, Elena turned to Lisa. We can't use the wagon right now, sweetheart. We're going to walk to somewhere safe and wait for Aunt Maya to come get us. Lisa nodded solemnly. Should we take my mama's picture? Elena's heart squeezed. In all the chaos, she'd almost forgotten about the framed photo on Lisa's nightstand. The last picture of Lisa with her mother, taken just weeks before the accident. Of course we should. Can you run inside and get it while I gather some important papers? While Lisa retrieved the photo, Elena stuffed documents in her purse. Lisa's birth certificate, her own driver's license, the temporary custody papers that made her Lisa's legal guardian, and what cash she had in the house. About $300. Not nearly enough to solve their problems, but enough to keep them fed for a few days. They slipped out the back door, staying low as they moved through the neighbor's yard. Elena's heart hammered as they crept along the fence line, but the men in the SUV seemed focused on watching the front of the house. 2 houses down, Elena spotted Mrs. Chun tending to her garden. The elderly woman looked up in surprise as Elena and Lisa approached. Elena? What are you doing creeping around so early? Elena glanced back toward her house, where the SUV remained parked. Mrs. Chun, I'm in trouble. Big trouble. Can we talk inside your house for a minute? Mrs. Chun looked at Lisa, who was clutching the photo of her mother and trying not to cry, then at Elena's desperate expression. Without another word, she ushered them through her back door. In Mrs. Chin's warm kitchen, surrounded by the smell of jasmine tea and steamed buns, Elena found herself breaking down. The whole story poured out. Marcus's disappearance, David's early release, the threats, the money they didn't have. Through it all, Mrs. Chun listened quietly, occasionally nodding or making small sounds of sympathy. When Elena finished, Mrs. Chun was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached across the table and took Elena's hand. 30 years ago, I came to this country with nothing but my daughter and the clothes on my back, Mrs. Chun said. My husband in China, he drank too much, hit too much. One day, I decided we wouldn't live that way anymore. I understand running from dangerous men. Lisa looked up from where she'd been holding her mother's photo. You were scared too? Mrs. Chun smiled gently at Lisa. Very scared, but sometimes being scared is what keeps us alive. It makes us smart, makes us careful. What did you do? Elena asked. I had help. There are people, organizations, who help women and children in danger. They gave us a safe place to stay until we could build a new life. Mrs. Chin stood up and went to a drawer, pulling out a worn address book. Let me make some phone calls. While Mrs. Chun talked quietly on the phone, Elena and Lisa sat close together on the couch. Lisa had her head on Elena's shoulder, and Elena stroked her hair gently. Mama Elena, are we going to be okay? Elena looked down at this brave little girl who had already survived so much loss and trauma. You know what, Lisa? I think we are. We have each other, and we have people who want to help us. Like Mrs. Chun? Like Mrs. Chun. Mrs. Chun returned from the kitchen, her expression cautiously optimistic. I have good news. There's a safe house about an hour from here. My friend can take you there this afternoon, and you can stay until your sister arrives. Elena felt the first spark of hope she'd had all morning. Mrs. Chun, I don't know how to thank you. You don't thank me yet, Mrs. Chun said, glancing toward the window. Because we have a problem. There's a man at your front door, and he doesn't look like he's delivering flowers. Elena's blood turned to ice as she peered through Mrs. Chen's curtains. A tall man in a black jacket stood on her front porch, pressing the doorbell repeatedly. Even from this distance, she could see the bulge of a weapon under his coat. When no one answered, he walked around the side of the house, peering through windows. They know we're not there, Elena whispered, pulling Lisa away from the window. They're going to start looking for us. Mrs. Chun was already moving, her elderly hands surprisingly quick as she gathered items from around her kitchen. My nephew Tony will be here in 20 minutes. He drives for the Safe House Network sometimes. But we need to keep you hidden until then. Lisa tugged on Elena's shirt. Mama Elena, my teacher said if strangers come looking for kids at school, they'd call the police. Why can't we call the police? Elena knelt down to Lisa's eye level, choosing her words carefully. Remember how I told you about your daddy's debts? Sometimes the police need proof of things before they can help. And right now, we don't have the kind of proof they would need. It was more complicated than that, of course. Elena knew that involving the police could take hours or days, with paperwork and interviews and bureaucracy. By then, David's associates might have found them, or worse, they might take out their frustration on other people in the neighborhood. These weren't the kind of criminals who played by rules or worried about collateral damage. Mrs. Chin's phone rang, and she answered it quickly. Her face grew pale as she listened. That was the school, she said after hanging up. A man called asking about Lisa. Said he was her father and wanted to pick her up early for a family emergency. Elena felt sick. They're not just looking for us. They're hunting us. The school didn't give him any information, Mrs. Chun assured her. But they wanted to verify with you first. I told them Lisa was homesick today. Through the window, Elena could see the man had returned to the front of her house. He was talking on his phone now, gesturing toward the house. More people will be coming soon. They were organizing a search. We can't wait for Tony, Elena said. They're going to start checking every house on the street. We need to leave right now. But how? Lisa asked, her voice small but steady. We don't have a wagon. Mrs. Chun disappeared into her bedroom and returned with a set of car keys. You could take my wagon. It's old, but it runs well. Mrs. Chun, I can't. Yes, you can. The older woman's voice was firm. That little girl needs protecting, and you're the only mama she is right now. Take my wagon and go to the safe house. I'll tell Tony to meet you there instead. Elena felt tears sting her eyes. The kindness of this near stranger was overwhelming. What if they come here looking for us? What if they hurt you? Mrs. Chun smiled grimly. I'm a 70-year-old Chinese woman with arthritis. What could I possibly know about criminal debts and missing children? I'll just be a confused old lady who doesn't speak English very well when it's convenient. Despite everything, Elena almost smiled. She'd heard Mrs. Chun argue with the cable company in perfect English just last month. Lisa stepped forward and hugged Mrs. Chun around the waist. Thank you for helping us. You're very brave. Mrs. Chun's eyes softened as she patted Lisa's hair. You're the brave one, little one. Taking care of your mama when she's scared, remembering to pack your mother's picture, staying calm when bad things happen. That's real courage. They made their plan quickly. Mrs. Chun would walk out to get her mail, creating a distraction while Elena and Lisa slipped into her garage through the connecting door. The wagon was a 15-year-old Honda Civic, dented but clean. Mrs. Chun had written the address of the safe house on a piece of paper, along with Tony's phone number. When you get there, ask for Martha, Mrs. Chun instructed. Tell her I sent you. She'll take good care of you until your sister arrives. Elena was backing out of the garage when she saw another black SUV turning onto their street. Her heart hammered as she forced herself to drive normally, not too fast, not suspicious. In the rearview mirror, she watched the SUV parked behind the first one. 4 men total now, maybe more. Are those the bad men? Lisa asked, turned around in her seat to watch. Don't look at them, baby. Look ahead. We're going somewhere safe now. But as they turned the corner, Elena's phone rang. Unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. You can run, but you can't hide forever. The voice was cold, mechanical. We know about the old Chinese lady. We know about your sister in Denver. We know about the kids' school, her teacher, her friends. $50,000, or we start visiting everyone you care about. Elena's hands shook on the steering wheel. I don't have $50,000. I'm a part-time bookkeeper. I live paycheck to paycheck. Then you better figure something out. You have until midnight. The line went dead. Elena stared at the phone, her mind racing. Midnight was 18 hours away. Maya wouldn't even arrive for 8 hours. And then what? They couldn't run forever. Lisa needed stability, needed school, needed a normal life. How long could they keep moving from safe house to safe house? Mama Elena? Lisa's voice was quiet. Was that one of the scary men? Elena pulled into a gas station parking lot and turned to look at Lisa. The 7-year-old sat perfectly still in her booster seat, clutching her mother's photo, but her eyes held a determination that broke Elena's heart. This child had already lost everything once. She shouldn't have to lose it all again. Lisa, I need you to listen to me very carefully. No matter what happens, no matter who we meet or where we have to go, I want you to remember something. You are not alone. Do you understand me? You will never be alone again. Lisa nodded solemnly. Because we're family now? Because we're family now, Elena confirmed. And families stick together. But as Elena pulled back onto the road toward the safe house, she caught sight of another black SUV in her rearview mirror, 3 cars back but definitely following them. Her heart sank. They'd been found again. The hunt was just beginning. Elena's hands gripped the steering wheel as she watched the black SUV in her rearview mirror. 3 cars back, but definitely following. Every turn she made, it made. When she slowed down, it slowed down. When she sped up, it matched her pace. Her mind raced through options, but none of them were good. If she led them to the safe house, she'd be putting Martha and other vulnerable people in danger. If she tried to lose them, she might end up trapped somewhere with no help coming. Mama Elena, why are we going so slow? Lisa asked, looking up from her mother's photograph. Just being careful, baby. Elena forced her voice to stay calm, but inside, she was screaming. Think, what would keep Lisa safe? She made a sudden decision and pulled into the parking lot of a busy grocery store. If these men wanted to threaten a child, they'd have to do it in front of dozens of witnesses. Elena parked near the entrance where security cameras could see them clearly. The SUV drove past without stopping, but Elena wasn't fooled. They were probably circling around, looking for another angle. She had maybe 5 minutes before they came back. Lisa, we're going to go inside this store and call Aunt Maya. Okay? We need to tell her not to come here after all. But as they walked toward the store entrance, Elena's phone buzzed with a text from Maya. Something's wrong. 2 men just came to my apartment asking about you. I'm not coming home tonight. Stay safe. Elena's legs nearly gave out. They found Maya. How is that possible? How did they even know Maya existed, let alone where she lived? These people were more connected, more dangerous than she'd realized. Inside the store, Elena found a quiet corner near the pharmacy and called Mrs. Chun. The safe house is compromised, she said quickly when the older woman answered. They followed us. I can't put Martha in danger. Where are you now? Redmond grocery store on 5th Street. But Mrs. Chun, they found my sister too. They went to her apartment in Denver. How could they know about her? There was silence on the other end. Then Mrs. Chun spoke quietly. Elena, I think you need to know something. The man who came to your door this morning, after you left, he came here. He knew things about you, about Lisa, that he shouldn't have known. He knew Lisa's middle name. He knew about your job at the accounting office. These aren't just random criminals looking for money. Elena felt the floor drop out from under her. What are you saying? I think someone close to you gave them information. Someone who knows your life very well. The truth hit Elena like a physical blow. Marcus hadn't just run away when his scheme fell apart. He'd made a deal. He'd traded information about Elena and Lisa in exchange for his own safety. That's how these men knew about Maya, about Lisa's school, about every detail of their lives. Lisa, Elena said, kneeling down to the little girl's eye level. Remember how I told you sometimes adults make bad choices that hurt children? Well, Marcus made a very bad choice. He told the scary men things about us that he shouldn't have told them. Lisa's eyes widened. Marcus was your friend. Why would he hurt us? I don't know, baby. Sometimes people do terrible things when they're scared. Elena's heart broke seeing the confusion and betrayal in Lisa's eyes. Another adult had let this child down. Another person she trusted had abandoned her. But you won't do terrible things, right? Even if you're scared. Elena pulled Lisa into a tight hug. Never. No matter how scared I get, I will never hurt you or leave you or tell anyone anything that would put you in danger. That's a promise. They had to move. Elena bought a prepaid phone with cash and called Tony, Mrs. Chin's nephew, from the store bathroom. The safe house isn't safe anymore, she explained. Is there anywhere else we can go? There's an old warehouse district about 20 miles north, Tony said. Lots of empty buildings, easy to hide. I can meet you there and we can figure out what to do next. It wasn't much of a plan, but it was better than sitting in a grocery store waiting to be found. Elena bought snacks and water bottles, then led Lisa back to the wagon. The parking lot seemed clear, but she didn't trust the appearance of safety anymore. 15 minutes into their drive north, Lisa spoke up from the back seat. Mama Elena, there's a car following us again. Elena's heart sank as she looked in the rearview mirror. Different car this time, a dark sedan, but the same deliberate following pattern. They'd been spotted leaving the grocery store. Okay, baby, we're gonna play a game, okay? I need you to get down on the floor and stay there until I tell you it's safe. Lisa didn't argue. She slid down behind Elena's seat, clutching her backpack and her mother's photo. Is this like hide and seek? Exactly like hide and seek. Elena's voice was steady, even as her mind calculated distances and options. The warehouse district was still 10 miles away. Too far. She needed another solution. She saw a sign for a rest area and made a split-second decision. If she could get into the building, if there were other people around, maybe she could create enough confusion to get Lisa to safety. But as she pulled into the rest area parking lot, her worst fears were confirmed. 2 more cars were already there waiting. The original black SUV and another dark sedan. They'd been herded here like cattle, driven exactly where these men wanted them to go. Lisa, stay down and stay quiet no matter what happens, Elena whispered. If I tell you to run, you run toward those other wagons with families and you scream as loud as you can for help. Elena stepped out of the wagon with her hands visible, her phone in her hand. 3 men got out of their vehicles and walked toward her with the casual confidence of predators who knew they had cornered their prey. You can put the phone down, the tallest one said. We're not here to hurt anyone. We just want to talk. But Elena could see the guns under their jackets. She could see the cold calculation in their eyes. These men had hurt people before, and they would hurt people again. The money, Elena said, keeping her finger near the phone screen. I don't have it. I can't get it. Oh, but you can, the man smiled. See, Marcus told us all about Lisa's trust fund. Elena's world tilted. What trust fund? Elena stared at the tall man in shock. What trust fund? Lisa doesn't have a trust fund. I would know about something like that. The man's smile was cold and predatory. Would you? See, Marcus did some digging after he started watching the kid. Turns out Lisa's grandfather, her mama's daddy, left her a nice little inheritance when he died. $200,000, locked up tight until she turns 18. But there are ways to access it early if her legal guardian needs it for her care. Elena's mind reeled. Her friend had never mentioned her father having money. They'd grown up poor together, struggled through high school, worked minimum wage jobs to pay for community college. But then Elena remembered her friend mentioning once that her father had gotten into real estate later in life, after they'd lost touch for a few years. Even if that's true, Elena said, her hand still near the phone screen, I couldn't access it. I'm not Lisa's legal guardian. I'm just temporary custody. Actually, you are. The man pulled out a folder from his jacket. Marcus was very thorough in his research. When the state placed Lisa with you 2 years ago, you signed permanent guardianship papers, not temporary ones. The social worker never explained the difference, but legally, you have the same rights as an adoptive parent, including the right to access her trust fund for medical emergencies, education, or housing needs. Elena felt sick. She thought back to that chaotic day 2 years ago, sitting in a government office, signing paper after paper while Lisa cried in the corner. The social worker had talked so fast, explained so little. Elena had just wanted to get Lisa somewhere safe, away from the foster system that had already failed her twice. I won't do it, Elena said firmly. That money is Lisa's future. Her college fund, her safety net. I won't steal from child. The man's expression darkened. You're not stealing anything. You're paying a debt. Marcus borrowed against that money, used Lisa's trust fund as collateral. When his business venture went bad, that money became forfeit. That's impossible. Marcus couldn't have used Lisa's money. He's not her guardian. No, but he forged your signature on the loan documents. Very convincingly, too. Our associates have a legitimate claim to that money, and they're going to get it one way or another. Elena's hand shook as she held the phone. From inside the wagon, Elena heard Lisa's small voice. Mama Elena, are you okay? Elena's heart broke. Even hidden on the floor of the wagon, terrified and alone, Lisa's first concern was for Elena's safety. This brave, beautiful little girl who had already lost so much deserved a future, deserved that college money, deserved a life free from the violence and fear that seemed to follow her everywhere. I'm okay, baby. Stay down. But Elena wasn't okay. Nothing about this was okay. These men were going to force her to steal Lisa's inheritance. And even if she gave them the money, what guarantee did she have that they'd leave them alone? They'd already proven they knew everything about their lives. They'd found Maya, threatened Mrs. Chun, tracked them across the city. This wouldn't end with one payment. In the distance, Elena could hear sirens. Help was coming, but these men had guns and Lisa was trapped in the wagon between them in safety. You hear that? The tall man gestured toward the approaching sirens. That's our cue to wrap this up quickly. You're going to call the bank right now and authorize an emergency withdrawal from Lisa's trust fund. $50,000 to clear Marcus's debt, plus $50,000 more for our trouble in tracking you down. $100,000? Elena's voice cracked. That's half her inheritance. Consider it a learning experience. Next time, don't let your boyfriend use your kid as collateral. The sirens were getting closer. Elena looked toward the wagon where Lisa was hiding, then at the men surrounding her. She had maybe 2 minutes before help arrived, 2 minutes to make a choice that would determine both their futures. Then she heard something that changed everything. Lisa's voice, not scared or crying, but clear and determined. Mama Elena isn't going to give you my money. Lisa had climbed out of the wagon and was standing behind Elena, small but defiant. In her hands, she clutched not just her mother's photograph, but Elena's phone, the prepaid one she'd bought at the grocery store. Lisa, get back in the wagon, Elena said desperately. I called Tony, Lisa said simply. Mrs. Chin's nephew. I told him where we are and that bad men have guns. He said help is coming. The tall man lunged toward Lisa, but Elena threw herself between them. Don't you dare touch her. Lisa, run. Elena shouted as she grappled with the man. Run toward the police wagons. But Lisa didn't run. Instead, she did something that would stay with Elena forever. She stepped forward and grabbed Elena's hand. We run together, Lisa said firmly. Families stick together. The police wagons arrived in a chaos of flashing lights and shouting officers. The men with guns found themselves surrounded, outgunned, and facing multiple felony charges. As they were handcuffed and loaded into squad wagons, Elena knelt beside Lisa, both of them shaking but unharmed. "You were so brave," Elena whispered, pulling Lisa into her arms. "But you should have run when I told you to." "You said we're a family now," Lisa replied, her voice muffled against Elena's shoulder. "And you said families stick together. I wasn't going to leave you alone with a bad man." Officer Martinez, the lead detective, approached them gently. "Ma'am, we're going to need statements from both of you. But first, is there somewhere safe we can take you? These men were part of a larger organization, and we want to make sure you're protected while we sort this all out." Elena looked at Lisa, then back at the officer. "Actually, I think we're going to be okay. We have people who care about us. We have family." 3 hours later, they sat in Mrs. Chin's living room while Tony explained what he'd learned from the police. Marcus had indeed forged Elena's name on loan documents, using Lisa's trust fund as collateral. But because the loans were based on fraud, they were invalid. Lisa's money was safe. More importantly, Marcus had been found. He'd been hiding in a motel 3 states away, and when the police arrested David's associates, Marcus had turned himself in, hoping for a plea deal. David himself was back in prison for violating parole by associating with known criminals. "So it's really over?" Elena asked. Tony nodded. "The whole organization is being investigated by the FBI. You and Lisa are safe." That night, as Elena tucked Lisa into bed in the guest room, Mrs. Chun had insisted they use until they felt ready to go home. Lisa looked up at her with serious brown eyes. "Mama Elena, are you my real mama now?" Elena smoothed Lisa's hair away from her face. "What do you think? I think you've been my real mama since the day you chose to stay instead of leaving me alone." Elena felt tears sting her eyes. "You know what, Lisa? I think you're right. So we don't have to worry about being alone anymore." "Never again," Elena promised. "We'll never be alone again because we have each other." 6 months later, Elena signed the final adoption papers, making Lisa officially her daughter. They stayed in the same house, the same neighborhood where Mrs. Chun continued to look out for them like a grandmother. Lisa thrived in school, made friends, and slowly stopped having nightmares about being abandoned. On the first anniversary of their terrifying day at the rest area, Lisa brought Elena a drawing she'd made at school. It showed 2 stick figures holding hands under a bright yellow sun, with the words "My family" written in careful 7-year-old handwriting. "That's us," Lisa said proudly. "Forever and always." Elena hung the drawing on the refrigerator right next to the photo of Lisa with her birth mother. Both pictures belonged there, one honoring where Lisa came from, the other celebrating where she belonged now. Sometimes Elena still thought about that morning when she tried to slip away in silence, leaving Lisa behind to save herself. She was grateful every day that a little girl's cry had stopped her at the door, that love had proven stronger than fear, that choosing to stay had led them both to exactly where they were meant to be. Lisa was right. They were a family now, forged not by blood but by choice, strengthened not by ease but by surviving the worst together. And they would never be alone again.